So the next match we got here is now Jon Moxley versus Bandido for the AEW Continental Breakfast Championship, as Jack likes to call it. And yeah, it was a pretty decent match. I did like to see how Moxley would go up against a luchador with the flippy shit and stuff. Again, I do like that all these matches, now that I'm noticing, all these matches with the faction members have been like staying out of it, so that's good. Um, Let me see. Of course, Moxley. I mean, it was a good match at first. The grappling, the back and forth, the whatever. But then, it devolved with the blood here and there, and Bandito's mask was almost like torn off and everything. And I mean, that mask was hanging on by a thread by the end of the match. Because it was just too many things going on and too many headbutts and too many whatevers, and I don't know how that thing was still staying on. And I think wasn't Moxley threatening to take it off or almost tear it off or something like that with scissors or something like it was.
Didn't he like that? I think he like stabbed it with scissors or something, didn't he?
Yeah, yeah. So
and then he kept recreating his favorite moments of Five Nights at Freddy's and kept doing bite of 86, bite of 86, bite of 80. I'm like, stop.
Oh God. Oh no, not once the bite of 87, Jack. But oh God,
87.
I can imagine if they do that little cutscene with Markiplier. You seen that one, right?
Yeah.
Where he's like, "Is that the bite of 87?" It's like half a scene
Yeah.
where Jon Moxley is biting and someone said, "They just is that
That's
the
what
bite
I
of
was thinking too. That's what I was thinking too. I was thinking of that clip. I was like, is that the bite of 87? That's what I was expecting that to happen when he was on the top rope and he said he was biting him. That's literally what I was thinking. I was thinking of that clip with Markiplier. Is that the bite of 87?
Oh my God! There you go, guys. There's your Markiplier reference for the year. But oh man, but yeah, a pretty good match and everything. And unfortunately, Moxley won. I would not have minded. I would have preferred actually if Bandito won the match. By this point, Wendy was long gone. She was just zonked out. She was watching the wrestling match on the other side of her eyelids. But yeah. What were you guys' thoughts on the match?
I'll let you go first, Johnny.
I wanted to enjoy this match because Bandito's in it. And I like Bandito. And I like the promotion they're giving him. I like the fact that he's a regular on Ring of Honor Fight Club, right? This is the Honor Club or Fight Club?
No,
I
Honor
forget
Club.
the name of the show.
Honor
Okay,
Club.
Honor. Okay, but Jon Moxley, it's just too bloody. It was interesting though, because the fact that holy shit, like Jon Moxley is about to rip off Bandito's mask off. I was thinking, oh my God, what would have happened if he ripped it off? Like that's like the big suspense behind all of that. So I wanted to enjoy all that. I wanted to enjoy the suspense of that match. But the fact that it's so bloodied up and Jon Moxley just wants to keep having a bite out of Bandito, literally speaking, it just takes away the enjoyment of that match. I just didn't really like that much. Personally, I don't really like most matches that features Jon Moxley for that reason alone. So that's what I think about the match. It kind of sucks that Bandito lost the match because it would have been very impactful for Bandito to have won this match, considering that he got humiliated and getting his mask getting bitten off and getting the mask almost ripped off, getting bleeded up. It looks like his eye got injured, if I'm not mistaken. Like it's just pretty disgusting.
Yeah.
So
Well, I guess it's because you had the mask but you still want all the blood to come out anyway, so that's probably why they did that.
But yeah, it would have been way better if Bandito had won the match.
I think the thing that irritated me the most about this match, I think the thing that really pissed me off about this match, besides the fact that it's just Jon Moxley in general, I I mean, I'm glad it wasn't a title for title because Bandido is the Ring of Honor World Champion. But the thing that pisses me off is exactly that. It's the fact that you had to have the Ring of Honor World Champion look like a chump compared to your AEW talent. And I think like the most recent pay-per-view that they did before Global Wars, it was the most recent pay-per-view before Global Wars. There was a really crazy good match. I think it was the main event. It was Bandido versus Mystico for the Ring of Honor World Title. And it was a fantastic match. And Bandido retained. It was a great back and forth. I think it was like a 38-minute match. It was a crazy good match. And then Bandido wins the belt. He's celebrating. All of a sudden, Swerve Strickland comes in, attacks him, and they go, "Oh yeah, because on Wednesday they're gonna be in the fight with the Owen Hart Cup." I'm like, I don't give a shit. That's AEW. Let that shit over there. Leave that shit over there. Let him celebrate. He just won his belt. He retained his belt. I'm like, damn. So with this, it's the same thing. I'm like, why even keep him as champion if he keeps losing? You know, I mean, like, why even keep him as champion at that point? I understand it's for Moxley's title. I get he was going to lose anyway, but I think I was more irritated with how he won because he kept doing like, shady shit of like, oh, I'm going to use weapons. I'm going to do this. I'm going to bite. I'm going to do this. Because this is the other thing that also doesn't make any fucking sense. This goes back to the whole Death Riders thing. It doesn't make any goddamn sense because their whole thing is like, we're villains, but we're good guys, but we have honor, but we backstab, but we cheat, but we're honest. Make up your fucking mind. Which are you? Like,
you see, you just described most of Moxie's promos.
Exactly. And it doesn't even make sense because I'm like, your shit doesn't make any fucking sense. You can't be a backstabbing bastard over here and an honest, nice guy. You can't. That's like, hey, I donated $200. I donated $1,000 to a charity of a hospital I burned down. It's like, no, you're still a prick. Like, it doesn't, like, it's stupid. It doesn't make any fucking sense because, on a side note, and this will play a factor in the next match. So, I've been asking my roommate, because I don't watch Dynamite. I don't watch AEW. I see clips of it. What the fuck? And I really want to ask everyone this. True. What the fuck does the Death Riders gain helping Ospreay? Because I mean, truthfully, there should be a reason, but there isn't one, and it's like they forgot. Oh yeah, there's supposed to be a reason why. Like if it was like, oh, we're gonna help MJF because that way we'll get a title shot. I'm like, okay, it's stupid, but there's a reason. There's that scene in that's it's like that scene. It reminded me of that scene in the new Supergirl movie with Lobo, where she goes, he kills people for no reason. No, I'm sure he has a reason. He just kills people for sport, and that's a reason. Like that's kind of like that. I was like, yeah, technically, like, but because this is the other thing. Like the Death Riders are like they're not sure if they're villains or heroes, and you can't be both. And then what's happening is they're like trying to be like, oh, Will Ospreay's like, oh, I'm a good guy. I'm this. Oh, look what the Death Riders did for me, bruv. Boo 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 boo. And then in New Japan, Gabe Kidd is attacking people and beating the shit out of them and like full on assaulting them and saying, oh, this is for the Death Riders. I'm a Death Rider, bro, a Death Rider. And I'm like, wait. And then you cut to AEW and then John's like, we're men of honor who do... What the fuck are you talking about? Like, ain't that your boy over there? Yes, but he beat the shit out of him and broke his ankle honorably. No, he didn't. He's a piece of shit. It doesn't make any sense. That's what I'm getting at. And just in the same way, Jon Moxley does not make any damn sense. And I was even saying this to Johnny. The Death Riders seem less like an evil heel faction and more like a bunch of older dads who see a bunch of young kids wearing punk rock shirts and go, "That ain't real music. Let me tell you what real music is. You ever heard of the Sex Pistols? You don't know the Sex." It's like, okay, Grandpa, you need to back the fuck off. All right, no one cares. And the match, it was just such a clusterfuck because I'm like, you're waiting for Bandido to just hit him with like a bunch of moves, and then like it's like, Johnny, did it feel like to you Bandido was like not able to do any of his actual moves he normally does?
Yeah, he was very slowed down. He wasn't,
Yeah, it
bouncing
felt
all
that
over the
way.
place.
Like he wasn't
Isn't
able to do
Bandido
any
a
of
lot
his
faster
normal
too,
shit he
normally?
does, because his whole thing is like rebounds and bouncing off the ropes and flips and drop kicks and stuff. He didn't do any of that. It was just Moxley going. You know who I realized Moxley reminds me of? Moxley reminds me of Bluto from Popeye. Hey, I'm gonna get my Popeye. Like that's what he reminds me of. Anyway, what'd you think, Mark? What'd you guys think?
Like I said, it was a good match, but then of course it evolved into the blood stuff. But yeah, Bandido didn't do lots of the flipping and rebounding, and I was kind of curious a bit because I want to see how Moxley would go up against Mr. Flippy Shit, and we didn't get enough Flippy Shit for that and everything. But the usual stuff. But yeah, that's the thing now. They're trying to talk Ospreay into joining the Death Riders, and Kenny's trying to talk him out of it and everything. And I don't know, like you said, their thing doesn't make sense. I guess Moxley's promos are mostly about like how AEW's like, jokes and silly and whatever, but no, you gotta be real, man. You gotta, do what it takes, and you gotta be willing to spill blood for this company like I do, and blah 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 blah. And like you said, it can't be talking about honor while doing cheap shots at the same time. And yeah, I don't know. It's a to do and everything. Do you have any thoughts on that, Johnny? I forgot if you spilled your thoughts yet, like how Moxley spills blood.
I just I just told you guys about the match. I didn't really like all the blood
Mm.
and him biting Bandido all the time and trying to.
Taking
I
a
mean, the
bite out of
only
pride.
saving grace the match had was the whole suspense that, oh, shit, he's gonna take off his mask, or the possibility of him taking off his terror mask. That was the only thing that I found the match to be really interesting, because in terms of like Bandido, like he didn't fall all the way because obviously he had to compete versus slow Jon Moxley.
Mhm.
So yeah.
I was thinking since Bandido is a Bandido, they always get the wanted posters. John Moxley want to take a bite of the crime. That's why he kept biting him and everything. But yeah. All right, guys. So next match we got here is Shota Umino going up against PAC, singles match for the IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship. IWGP. And thank you, Wendy. And yeah, it's a pretty decent match. I haven't seen Pac wrestle in a while. That's the thing. I haven't seen some of these guys wrestle in a while, and not like on actual like one-on-one matches without outside interference. We didn't get no, Claudio coming in and doing the big swing and leaving or anything. So it's a pretty, even match. And yeah, it's a pretty good match. I don't remember too many spots. I know Pac was trying to do the Black Arrow as usual and things like that, but nothing really stood out too much for me. I do see that. Oh, what was the ending? When you pointed out that the audience did seem pretty lackluster at the end. Shota Umino won the match. He defeated Pac and got the title and everything, but no one there was like not much, I guess, reaction or anything from the crowd for something like that.
It's because at this point, they were 6 hours into an 8-hour show.
Oh God.
Because you got to remember, this is the thing I was talking to Johnny about. This is the thing that I was even bringing up to my roommate is that it went. You have to remember, this is the problem that AEW is having, and you could tell the audience is getting fatigued. Is they film Collision, then the buy-in, then Forbidden Door. That's 8 straight hours in the same arena. Like, they are exhausted. I think by that point they should start selling smelling salts with their popcorn. That way they can be like, all right, like, because like honestly, I'm like, dude, that's even I as a wrestling fan, I'm like, dude, I gotta take a break every now and again for me, because that's another thing. It was like the pacing of it. If they had done, if they had done, if they had done the Jon Moxley match and then done that tag team match earlier here, then do the shooter match after, it would have been better paced.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Because you can't have a hard-hitting, bloody punch match followed by a hard-hitting punch match.
Yeah.
The audience is going to be like, oh, yeah, remember when he got on the top rope? Which time? Which guy? Who are we talking about now?
I remember when Wendy, Johnny, and I went to see AEW. It was like that. We saw the taping of Ring of Honor, and then I think the actual Dynamite, and then either Rampage or Collision. Because right now, Collision wasn't around yet. So yeah, so we got to see Ring of Honor, Dynamite, and Rampage all in the same, all in one city, and everything.
Yeah, and I'm like, look, there's got to be that's audience. That's fatigue. That's a lot of wrestling to sit through. And you gotta pace it out with your audience, like at least give a break in between or something. Like, I don't know. It's irritating because like you can't do that to your audience. Your audience is like halfway in between. They're like fast asleep, and they're like, "Damn, what the hell's happening, man?" Because Shooter is the IWGP Global Champion. He's the second biggest belt in the company. And he is a fucking phenomenal talent. He's gotten so good in such a short period in over the past 2 years. Before it just felt like he was doing a copycat of Moxley's moves or a copycat of Ospreay's moves, and now he's actually got his own style. He's got his own gimmick. He's got his own thing going on, and the audience are connecting more with it. And well, PAC's good in his own way. He's like, I would never say PAC is a top guy, but PAC is a guy that you could put against almost anyone, which is good, which says a lot to him. He go up against anyone and kind of still look good. But again, I think the timing of this match was really off, and you could tell the match was like they were trying to get the audience engaged, but the audience was just out. They were like just like. Like you could tell, like PAC was like, yeah, and they were like, I think I saw like 4 different people. Like when it cut to the crowd, like half of them were like this.
Oh no!
And then I saw a couple people on their phone. I'm like, that's sad, man, because this would have been this is a great match, the part that made me laugh was the very end of the match, with not with Shota. I was happy he won. But the part where Moxley was coming in because you're like, you weren't sure what he was going to do. Because remember I told you about Gabe Kidd attacking people? He attacked Shooter after he won the belt. And then he's like, oh, yeah, Death Riders, we're Death Riders, like, whatever. And then, like, all of a sudden, Moxley, who's the leader, tries to cut in and talk. And then Tanahashi comes up. Moxley gets all scared. I started laughing because it's like he wasn't scared of Tanahashi. He wasn't scared of Ace because he's afraid of him as a wrestler. I laughed because in my head I made a joke where I'm like, he got scared because Jon Moxley is bald. And Tanahashi had great flowing hair and cut it. And he's like, why would you do that? You monster!
Okay, I must have missed that storyline.
Like, no, the joke is that, because he's scared because Tanahashi cut his hair because he's no longer a wrestler, so he's got like kind of shorter hair. So the joke is that Moxley, because he's bald, he freaked out about Tanahashi cutting his hair. Like, no, you monster! Some of us don't even have that.
No, jeez. We were talking about that the other day. Like I can't even see him as Dean Ambrose anymore.
Yeah. If you look, I bet you money if he looked like he had the stomach flu, he'd look like Dean Ambrose.
Oh God.
Because that was the thing. Every time I saw Dean Ambrose, you ever notice if you look at old clips of Dean Ambrose, he always looked like he was sick. You know,
Yeah.
they put that kind of baby oil on him, but it didn't work right with his face. So because he was kind of paler, so he just looked like he just had a massive stomach bug before the ring, and he's like,
No,
"I'm gonna beat you up," and you're like, "Oh God, don't puke on me! Get away! Get him away!" It's like lunatic fringe. Did you say fringe? Like it's like no, get back away.
Oh God.
But no, I mean that's the thing is like, yeah, I know he's wrestled longer in AEW than he ever did in WWE, which is funny to me. It's actually statistically proven he lasted longer in AEW than he did in WWE. What? Hey, more power to him. But back to this match itself.
Well, I was gonna say, for better or for worse, he is like a bigger deal, in AEW than he was
has more
in.
control in AEW too. Yeah, they were. Yeah, I agree. But the thing I'm saying is like, I feel like the problem is I feel like certain people that are around him, like a PAC or Cesaro, I don't think. How do I put this? I'm trying to say this without sounding like a dick. I realized something, and that is that the wrestling world hyped these guys up too much to the point where they started believing they're drinking their own Kool-Aid and believing they were better than everyone else. And it kind of ended up biting them in the ass. PAC is a good example. Cesaro is a good example where they'd be like, oh man, if only they'd given him a chance. If only they were giving him a chance. And I go, I feel like they never would have been a top player in any major company because of the fact that I don't think they have what it takes to break that glass ceiling of a character. Not as a wrestler, not as an ability, but as a character. It's kind of like, it's a weird comparison. It's kind of like what I think with like Lance Storm. Like Lance Storm was a guy or not, maybe not Lance Storm. Like it's like a guy like a guy that you would be like, oh, he's a good dude. He's a really reliable worker. He put on a great match with whoever. But does that make you a top guy? Not really, because you got to actually have something unique that makes you stand out. And if you don't, you kind of get lost in the sauce. And unfortunately, PAC is one of those guys. Cesaro is definitely one of those guys. And it sucks because you're like, you want them to be better, but they're not. That's the sad truth of this. They're reliable. They're good. No discredit on their abilities, but they're just never going to be top guys. That's all. But then again, neither is like guys like MVP. And guys like MVP, he's a legend. Shelton Benjamin, he's another guy, amazing talent. Never will be a top guy, but that's some people, they just can't recognize like, I'll never be a top dude. It's like, and that's fine. No disrespect on you. I'm just saying, some guys just can never be top guys. It sucks, but it is what it is.
Well, like they say, not everyone can be a top guy. You know what I mean?